my channel. Today I am finally doing my first ever story time video, and I'm not gonna lie, I am so goddamn nervous. Like, my heart is racing a million times a minute, and I don't know, it's just, I've spoke about this so many times. Anyone who knows me, and I say to them I've got a daughter, and then they're like, and I tell them they're her age, they're like, and then I end up telling them, and it's something I'm really proud of. Not proud of myself for what happened, but proud of how I've overcome it and where we are today. But it's just so nerve-wracking actually filming this and knowing I'm going to put it on YouTube, and I've got nothing to be ashamed of. And doing this video from where I was at such a young age, I feel like it's so good, because I never know, I might help one person out there, and if that reaches one person, then it'll mean everything to me. I should have tissues really on the standby, because I just got a feeling this video is gonna get so emotional for me, because today is such a significant day. By telling this story, it's very, very significant, and I will explain that to you further throughout the video. But let's just get to it. Let's get to it now. Let's stop being nervous and just go ahead and just let me ramble and talk like I always do anyway. Everyone who knows me knows the story, because they always ask, and it's something that I'm not ashamed to tell, because you know how it happened and how great it's been for me personally. It's just a life-changing story, and I'm just happy now to be filming this and to just spread it out and tell you guys. I'm 27 years old, and my daughter is turning 14 in 2 weeks today. So exactly 2 weeks from today, she's turning 14. So anyone who's good at maths, or you don't even need to be good at maths, can work out that I had my daughter at 13 years old. I want to start this story off now by giving you a bit of background about myself. And I don't mean to be disrespectful to anyone. I'm just being completely and utterly honest. I'm not going to say names in this video, because I don't want to put people's names out there, because you don't know what's going to happen. So a little bit of background of myself. I come from a single parent family. My mum had 2 children, me and my little brother, who's 5 years younger than me. So I've been brought up on council estates my whole life. I've seen the worst things growing up from such a young age. And you know, it's so hard saying this, because I love my mum and I'm really close with my mum right now. Like, my daughter's brought me and my mum ridiculously close together. But mum, I love you. But growing up, I didn't have the greatest relationship with my mum. It wasn't that she was bad. It was just, I don't know, there was just always a disconnection between us two. My brother had the utmost of her attention and got whatever he wanted. Whereas me, I was a bit, I don't want to say pushed aside, but everyone who knows us personally knows my brother was my mum's favourite. So growing up, I've always lacked that sort of like loving and affection. Oh my gosh, I'm getting upset already. Okay, I'm better now, I'm better. Okay, we're not gonna cry throughout this video, bloody hell. Okay, so as growing up, I've always like sort of lacked a bit of an emotional attention. My dad was never in my life. The last time I saw him when I was about 8 years old. We, you know, even though my nan and granddad had 10 children altogether, I've never really had cousins to be close to. You know, there was friends of my mum's friends, like their kids and that I was close to, but I never really had any concrete relationships growing up. So from a young age, I was seeking love, if you know what I mean. So that's just a little bit of background of emotionally why I ended up pregnant at such a young age. We were brought up on a council estate, you know, everyone was on benefits, everyone was just having babies, and there was no real like thrive. I was brought up in an area called Kings Norton, and even everyone I speak to now from Kings Norton just say the exact same thing. A lot of people have moved away, but most people want to move away because it's just such a confined area and everyone's on benefits, and there's not really anyone who's like really striving. Not saying there isn't, because who the hell am I don't know everyone in Kings Norton. It was just one of them areas. I was going down that path of following all the benefit people. In primary school, I was such a boffin meaning I was like really clever, and I was always the teacher's pet and stuff. And I went to St Paul's School in Kings Norton. I was always in top set in everything, and I left primary school with 555 in my SATs, 5 in English, maths and science. And we all know that's like the best grade you can get. I don't think you can get a level 6, but I'll come out of primary school with the best grade. So really with them I should have carried them on to high school, shouldn't I? I started high school in September 2011, and I went to Kings Norton High School, and straight away when I started high school I was just the centre of attention to all the boys. I was very well developed at that age. I, had boobs, I was tall, and I didn't look like your average 12-year-old, let's just say that. When I was in primary school, I always felt like the ugly girl. I remember, I always used to ask girls out for the boys, and I used to think to myself, how come no one asks me out? And I just remember I used to just be freckly, and I hated my lips. I absolutely hated my lips. I used to be called rubber lips, and I just remember thinking to myself, when I'm older, the first thing I'm going to do is pay for my lips to get smaller, which completely is not the answer right now, because I love my lips and I get the most compliments. But I'm just trying to explain to you. So in primary school, I wasn't the centre of attention at all. I was just into my schoolwork. I was an altar server, so I went to a Catholic school, so I used to be an altar server. I was baptised Catholic. I did my Holy Communion and my confirmation, and I was just an all-round good kid in primary school. I didn't like missing out of school. I did all my homework. I went to mass, which is church. I went Friday morning with school, Saturday evening and Sunday morning to altar serve. And I was just a happy, content little kid until I started high school. Now, Kings Norton High School was not a Catholic school at all. It was just a shitty school in the area, and everyone got a place there even if you didn't apply. Like I mentioned, I started there in September 2011, and straight away I was just thrown into attention from boys. Like, I remember the year 11 boys, I was only 11 years old, would, ask me for hugs, and, and it just really got to my head, because I had come from such a strict school, and I was really good with all my my schoolwork, and that being thrown into high school with 4 times the amount of pupils in your year, it was just a massive change for me. And within the first week I was put on report because me and a few other friends tried wagging our lesson, and I just remember running across Topfield. And Mr. Lyons, I'm going to tell my teachers' names, and Mr. Lyons was chasing after us, and there used to be this hole in the fence in the back of the field, and we just ran through that, and then I wagged, and we started school on a Wednesday, and the Wednesday after I was put on report. And I just remember we got caught by the police, and the police took us back to school, and they were like, that's it, now you're all on report. And then the next day we had assembly, and we all got told to stand up in assembly, and then sort of to try and embarrass us, but it was a complete opposite. It gave me attention where everyone looked at me and I thought I was a bad girl. So that was just the start of where all this behaviour come from. I just carried on with high school. I got completely taken away from my schoolwork, even though I made really great friends in high school, which I didn't know before, who used to urge me and say, Emma, you're so good, you're so much better than this. Because when I started year 7, I was still in all the top sets. I was in the top maths, tops English, Mrs. Hands, or was it Mrs. Hands? I think it was, isn't it? And everyone used to spur me on and go, Emma, you're so much better than this. But I didn't care, because for once the attention I was getting was sort of fulfilling my need for love, if you know what I mean. Year 7 was a whirlwind, and then I come into year 8. And I turned 13 in the October, and I was still going down that path. I was staying out late, I was stealing cars, I was getting arrested for assault. I was just going down the wrong path. and I thought I was a bad girl. Everyone thought I was like 16, 17, and I mean everyone, even my friends' parents. I'd walk down the fold, and I remember once one of my friends' mums, she was like, as if you're 13, as if. I just thought I was a bad girl, and now looking back at it, it was laughable, but it was just that point in my life where I felt like I was something, and people wanted me in their life regardless of whether it was as a friend or, you know, as boyfriend. They wanted me as a girlfriend. It was a time in my life where I felt good about myself, if you know what I mean. It's really hard to explain. Now, January the 3rd, 2003, I was 13 years old and 2 months, and I was with my friend, and we went to an area in Birmingham called ALOT, the worst shithole area in bloody Birmingham. It's horrible. And my friend was going out with a boy at the time. She was significantly older than me. She was 15, and she had a boyfriend at the time, and he lived in ALOT, and they were fighting, and we went to go see him in town, and then he was like ignoring her, and she was like, oh come on, I need to go to his house, even though it was like 11 o'clock, and you know all the buses stop at midnight. And I remember saying to her, like, look, if we go to his, how are we going to get home? We should be going home now, get the last bus. But she was like, no, you know what teenagers are like. So I followed her, we followed him home, and when we got to his house, all he did was slam the door on our face, and it was midnight. And I just remember looking at her thinking, how are we going to get home? I was 13, she was 15, there was no buses. But to be fair, I used to do all-nighters back a day. We used to purposely catch a bus to the other side of Birmingham so we couldn't have a bus back, and then we'd walk it back home. Don't get me wrong, it used to be the best nights of our life. It used to be so funny. But this night in particular, I was just like, you know, you wasn't planning it. We used to plan out all-nighters. We used to tell our mums, we're staying here, we're staying there. And then we'd all get dressed. This night in particular, it wasn't planned. So I was just a bit like, oh, I want to go home. We're stuck in ALOT at midnight, and we're on like the back streets of it. And then before we knew it, 2 guys come up and start talking to us, and we're like, oh, hello, blah, blah, blah. And this was my introduction to my baby father. And he come over to us, and he was like, what are you 2 doing? And I was like, you know, told him the story, and it was just like a blur, and we're just talking to them in the street. And then before we knew it, a bunch of like 6, 7 lads come running round the corner, and they're going, feds, feds, which is like police. They were like, feds, feds. And not only have they grabbed the 2 boys who have just met us, including my baby father, they grabbed our hands, and then before we knew it, we were running away from the police with these boys we didn't even know. And I remember turning to my friend thinking, what the fuck is happening? Like, we just ended up running away from the police, and we're in the middle of nowhere at 12:30, and we're running from the cops, and it was just like an absolute blur. And then, you know, once we like stopped, and then we started talking, and then my daughter's father introduced himself to me, and he was 17 years old, I was 13, and straight away we clicked. Like, he was giving me attention. He was very, very well known in the area, and I just felt even more like I was a bad girl. Like, it was pathetic. Like, when I think about it, it was absolutely pathetic, but I thought I was invincible, and I thought I was untouchable, and I thought I was desirable. And so his attention completely and utterly went to my head. That night, I spent the whole night with him, not in a bed or anything like that. We stole a car, and we just spent the whole night like rolling around Birmingham, joyriding. And then in the morning, we parked the car up in Birmingham and set it alight, and then walked off, and he put me on the bus back home, the number 35, from city centre to Kings Norton. And I just remember, and he gave me his number, his cousin's number, and I remember getting home, going to sleep for a few hours, and the first thing I did when I woke up was I thought of him, and I went straight away to call him. And then he was like, oh, you're going to come see me tonight? And I couldn't. I had school the next day because I'd met him on a Saturday, so this was the Sunday. So I was like, nah, I can't, I've got school tomorrow. So the following Saturday, I met him, and me and my friends went with my other friends, and when I met all his friends again, and we did the same, stealing cars, joyriding. That's what we used to do. It never used to be anything romantic where it was me and him spending the night together. It just used to be stealing cars. And, you know, it was such a short-filled romance. Like, it lasted 3 weeks, because I remember it was my friend's birthday on the 24th of January, and that's when he broke up with me. But within that time, you know, what happened. I don't really want to talk about it, because we all know we're all adults now. But, you know, the deed happened within that time of 3 weeks. You know what, this story's getting a bit long now, and I'm sorry. So he broke up with me, and then I remember going up to Alan Rock and just crying to him and saying, look, I didn't, you know, I thought I was in love. I wasn't in love at all. When I look at him now, I just was a stupid little teenager. But I thought I was in love, and, you know, he was older than me, and I used to roll around in cars with him, and I used to think I was gangster, which I wasn't at all. I was just an idiot. And he was like, no, I don't want nothing to do with you. I don't want nothing to do with you. And it completely tore me apart. Like, for all these years that I had been emotionally messed up, thinking no one ever loved me, and I met someone who I thought loved me, and then him just cutting me off like that killed me. It absolutely killed me. By this time I didn't know I was pregnant. And even like 2 weeks after, I had one of his friend's scarves. It was like a fake Burberry scarf. Remember, me always used to wear Burberry scarves and Burberry hats on my days. Yeah, and I had his mate's fake Burberry scarf, and he wanted it back. So I said, I'm going to come drop it off to you. And I remember his friend calling me saying, Emma, don't come. But because I wanted to see my baby father, I still came all on my own. And they were warning me, his cousins, they were like, Emma, don't come. And basically what he had planned to do was to get a girl to beat me up. And if it wasn't for his cousins who helped me and got me in a car and drove me to my friends in Nechells, I would have got battered. These girls were a lot older than me, and the worst thing was, I remember just sitting in the back of the car when she tried to come and punch me up, and just watching my baby father with her friend kissing her, and it was like the worst feeling ever. And oh, it was just horrible, and all this had happened within the space of 5-6 weeks. I went and got dropped off to my friends in Nechells, and, you know, his cousins didn't have to do that. They didn't have to side with me, but I think they knew deep down that I was just an immature little girl and I didn't deserve to be treated that way. A few weeks after, I knew I was pregnant. I knew I was. I hadn't come on my period and I was being sick. And I remember telling my friend, and I says to her, I think I'm pregnant. And she was like, are you sure? And I was like, no, I've got a feeling I'm pregnant. We didn't do a pregnancy test and that. I was like, I need to go see him and I need to tell him I'm pregnant. So we went to go see him and his friends, because she was sort of seeing his friends. So there was still that little connection between our group and their group. So we went to go see them, and we was in Warden Park. And she told the guy she was seeing, look, Emma thinks she's pregnant. So she told him. And I just remember he was going, bullshit, like taking the piss out of me, going, bullshit. You're only saying that because you want to get back with me. And even though, if I'm honest, deep down, that was sort of the cause. It wasn't. It was because I was genuinely pregnant, and I just wanted to tell someone. And I just felt like if he had stood by me, I would have told people, and I would have gone through with my pregnancy healthily. Like healthily? Is that healthy? Healthily. I would have gone through my pregnancy and told my mum and everything. But because straight away he would just put a middle finger in my face, I was like, okay, I shit myself. And then like 2 weeks after, I lied to my friend and I told her I'd come on my period. And I was like, look, don't worry, I'm not pregnant, I've come on my period. So that was that. I was 13 years old and I was pregnant, and I didn't tell a single person except my one friend, which I told her I'd come on my period, so I was okay. So she had sort of like gone, okay, then we're fine. I carried on going to school. I carried on trying to be normal. I wasn't as naughty as I was before I got pregnant, because I had ridiculous morning sickness, which I just hid from everyone. I used to sleep in the bathroom in the night so I could be sick, and then before my mum and brother woke up, I'd wake up and go back to bed. It was horrible. I had no one to turn to. I didn't have a single scan. I didn't have a single medical appointment. I just kept the pregnancy to myself, and I didn't have a single person to go to. And that wasn't because of choice. That was because of fear. You know, like I mentioned about me and my mum. My mum, she wasn't abusive to me. She had hit me a few times as a kid, but I was always told that if I'd done stuff like that, I'd get beaten up pretty bad, and that's what I was scared of. I was too scared to turn to my mum. And I've come, like I mentioned, I didn't have a father. I didn't have any close aunties and uncles. I didn't have anyone to confide in. And so I just hid it. And I genuinely thought it would go away. I know it sounds absolutely crazy, but I genuinely thought it would go away. And I just remember lying in the bath and seeing her move one day. And I started punching my stomach. And you know what? Me thinking of it now, I'm absolutely disgusted. But that's what I did. Because I just was too scared. I was too scared to turn to anyone. And I carried on with my school life. And I carried on, you know, just trying to be me. I tried being better at work. At work, I tried to being better with my schoolwork and stuff. And then the start of year 9 happened. And by this time I was 8 months pregnant. And I hid my pregnancy. I didn't really carry like really big. I did have a bit of a belly, and my friend's mum, God rest her soul, she knew from day one I was pregnant. She told everyone, but no one really wanted to believe it. And she's passed away now, but I remember she used to say to me all the time, "You're pregnant." And I was like, "No, I'm not. I didn't have any visible like signs. I just used to be like, "No, I'm fine. And when I started year 9, I remember going for my year 9 uniform, and I just got the biggest sizes. So I just wore baggy shirts, baggy jumpers. I just tried everything I could to hide it. And I started year 9 without any problems. And 2 weeks before my daughter was even born, I went to Drayton Manor and I went on all the rides. I didn't go on Apocalypse, but I went on all the rides. And this is how much I was hiding that pregnancy. I was just carried on with my life like nothing. There was nothing wrong with me and that I wasn't pregnant. And then the day came when I went into labour. And it was Saturday the 4th of October 2003. And like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, that's why today is so significant. Because today is exactly 2 weeks before my daughter's 14th birthday. And I gave birth to her. Oh my gosh, am I getting so emotional? It's been playing on my mind so much. Like lately, I've just been so emotional, so aggressive, so nice. And so this, because it's like hitting me now. But today is exactly 2 weeks before my daughter's 14th birthday. And exactly 2 weeks before my 14th birthday. Can't even get my words out. And exactly 2 weeks before my 14th birthday is when I gave birth to her. So that's why today is so significant, and doing this video just is really hitting home massively for me. It was a Saturday and I was doing my RE homework, and you know what my RE homework was? It was, I had to write a poem for and against abortion. Oh my days, I wish I had those poems because they were bloody exceptional. I just remember thinking, oh my God, I've done such a good job. But it was because it was emotionally hitting me on such a personal level. And I was sitting on the settee in the living room and I'm doing my homework. And then I was sitting there for like a good 2 hours, and I got up and I was soaking wet. My trousers were dripping wet, like I'd pissed myself. And I didn't think, oh, that's my waters. I didn't think like that at all. I just went straight into the bath because I thought I'd pissed myself. I was in such a state of denial that I didn't even realise my water had broke. It's the hardest, I don't know, it's just, I wasn't a woman. I didn't know what to expect. I had no scans. I had no appointments. So stupid and naive. I jumped in the bath. And then I'm sitting in the bath and the pains start coming. And oh my gosh, the pain was excruciating. It literally feels like someone's walked up inside you with a sledgehammer and is just walking around, just beating everything inside you. And I just sat in that bath for about an hour and the pains were getting worse. And I remember I put the sponge in my mouth and I was biting on the sponge because the pain was so... Oh, it was horrible. I got out of the bath about half 2. I was in there for a while, and then I just jumped on my mum's bed and I just lay flat out with a towel on me. And then lucky at that time, my mum's friend and her daughter, who was my close friend, who we used to say we were cousins, come and knocked on the door, and I called her name and I went, "Come here," and she went, no, you come here, you lazy shit. And I went, no, come here. I can't move. I need you. She comes upstairs and she sees me crying on the bed in pain. And she's like, what the hell? And I was like, I don't know what's wrong with me. We need to call an ambulance. Her mum comes upstairs. My mum comes upstairs. And I remember looking at her mum in the face, and her mum knew. But it was just one of those things where she was close to my mum, so she didn't want to like be the one to go, she's having a baby. I just knew she knew. I called the ambulance, and the ambulance was like, okay, well, we don't want to bring an ambulance out because it just seems like mild period pains, but can you call us back if it gets any worse? So for like the next half hour, the pains are getting more intense. I'm screaming. They called the ambulance up. My friend did, and she was like, you need to get an ambulance here now. She is in excruciating pain. She's screaming the house down. Within 20 minutes, the ambulance arrived, and it was a man and a woman. And they come straight upstairs into my mum's room, and the lady was like, can I get some privacy? And they closed the door, and they're in the room with me, just me and the 2 paramedics. And she lifts my stomach up, and as she pressed my stomach, my daughter kicked. My daughter just moved. And she looked at the man and she went, can you get out the room? And he leaves the room, and then she turns to me, and I remember she just says to me straight away, she was like, oh my gosh, are you sexually active? And I just went, yeah. And she went, when? And I told her the date to a T because it was so significant to me. And I was like, January 2003. And she went, Emma, you're having a baby. And I just burst into tears, and I just knew it was coming all along. And she was like, you're in labour, you're having a baby. And then I remember she called the paramedic in, and my mum and my friend and her mum was in the hallway. And then I just remember hearing the guy go outside to my mum and just saying she's having a baby. And then I just remember my mum bursting into tears. And that was really hard for me. I didn't want to disappoint anyone. I still don't. I'm still one of those people who are very aware of everyone's feelings. Oh my God, I bet I look so ugly in it. And then that was it. And then I just remember they put me into the ambulance, and my mum come with me and my friend. So she had been there when I told him I was pregnant, and he said no. So she was the one who I initially told from day one I was pregnant, and I says to her, no, I'm not, I've come on my periods. It was her, me and my mum in the ambulance, and I just remember on the way to the hospital, I was wearing white trousers. My mum was obviously in a state of shock, and she was disappointed, and I don't blame her, I don't blame her at all. But my friend, she really helped, and she was like trying to lighten up the situation, going, I think it's a boy. And I remember her saying it's a boy, and then my mum, she was like, Karina, oh, we all know my mum, and she was like, Karina, what do you think? Do you think it's a boy? And my mum was like, no, it's a girl. Look at her, it's a girl. I got into the hospital at exactly 3:15, and it was the QE Women's Hospital in Birmingham. And my midwife was Libby, and she was lovely. And I just remember we're going into the delivery suite, and I says to her, I don't want my mum and my friend to see my, flower. Can you just make sure they don't see it? And she was like, okay, I'm going to get you to take your trousers and that off. I'll get them in to stand by your shoulders, and then I'll put a cloth up. And I was like, thank you. She was absolutely amazing. Oh gosh, Emma. I could have had a midwife that could have just, like an old-fashioned midwife who could have just saw me walking. Well, I didn't even walk in, I got trolleyed in. She could have saw me got taken in, and she could have judged me, and she could have, she could have been old-fashioned and horrible. But this midwife in particular, oh my God, I can't even get my words out. She was amazing. And I just remember her consoling me, because all I kept saying was, I'm a slag. I'm a slag. I'm a slag. That's all I kept saying when I was in labour. And she says to me, she was like, you're not a slag, you're just unlucky. She was like, I had sex at 11 and I just didn't get pregnant. She went, you're just one of the unlucky ones who got pregnant. She was amazing. And you know what? I'd love to find her. I'd absolutely love to find her, because like I said, I could have had a midwife who could have just completely judged me, but she didn't. She was amazing, and she consoled me, and she calmed me down. Let me just sort my face out. Actually, I've just looked at my face. I don't look too bad. I thought I'd have mascara running all over the place like the Joker. Within an hour of me being in labour, I was in so much pain. My mum had one leg and my friend had the other. And it was just like that complete, I don't want them to see my flower, had completely gone out the window. I was in full stern labour. I didn't have any pain relief. I didn't have no epidural. All I had was gas and air. Because I had started the labour back at home, by the time I'd got to the hospital, I was quite dilated. Exactly 6:15 on Saturday, the 4th of October, the best thing that has ever happened to me got brought into the world. She weighed 5 pounds 7, and she was completely and utterly healthy. Like, nothing was wrong with her, absolutely nothing. And I just remember when she came out and they said to me it's a girl, and I just remember saying to Libby, I was like, I have a daughter. That's so significant in my head. And she was like, you do, she's beautiful. And when they passed her to me, and I was just like, oh my gosh. So I had my daughter and she was healthy. I didn't need any stitches. Literally, I had the most smoothest labour ever. No pain relief. Well, the gas and air is pain relief, but no like actual drugs and stuff. No stitches. And you know, it was just so smooth sailing that I remember the midwife says to me, if my situation was different, I probably would have got discharged late that night or early the next morning, because there was just the baby was healthy, I was completely healthy, and it was just smooth sailing. But because of the situation, social services had to get involved, which is completely understandable, because it could have been, you know, rape, or, you know, rape in the home or stuff like that. So social services got involved. I was in there for like 4 days. Word spread on the ward that a 13-year-old has come in, she's had a baby, and I had nothing for her, absolutely nothing. Like, my brother was 8 years old, so my mum didn't have a single baby item at home. I was 13 years old, I hid the pregnancy, I had nothing. And word spread on the ward that there's a 13-year-old girl, she's had a baby and she's got nothing. And then I just remember the nurses kept coming in with different things, with baby grows, with bottles, with nappies, with wipes. And all the mothers on the ward, they were just so nice to have, like, people, you know, have people to just help. It was amazing. I got released on the Tuesday, and I remember walking into my home, and I just walked into my house and the living room was just full. And when I mean full, I had 2 Moses baskets, I had 2 push chairs, I had so much baby stuff. The house was full. And this was all from the council estate community that, you know, yeah, it was negative, but we were one big, you know, community. We were one big, like, family. And if it wasn't for everyone in the area and on this council estate, I don't know how I would have brought my daughter up. Because I just remember walking in and thinking, what the hell? I've only been in the hospital 3 days, and, you know, news had spread so far and wide that everyone was just donating things. And I remember people knocking on my door who I've seen in the street, and there was one lady who was pregnant, and she gave me her Moses basket, and she was like, oh, don't worry, I'll get another one, I want to give you this. And the overwhelming support from everyone in the community was just amazing. And I did have some negativity, you know, especially from family. You know, they were just like, that's it now. She's ruined her life. She's going to have loads of kids by different dads. She's going to be on benefits, which, mate, I would have just been following your lifestyle anyway. But all in all, I had a lot of love around me. I had a lot of love around me. And my daughter just had such a great environment around her. If this video goes that far out, you guys remember me, Emma Lewis from Kings Norton. I just want to say thank you to everyone who just donated, even something as simple as baby wipes. Like, you guys don't understand how much that meant. But my daughter, she had a great little childhood, and she was idolised in the area, and everyone loved her, and all my friends loved her. I want to be honest, for those first 2 years of her life, I wasn't a great mum. I wasn't bad, but I wasn't a great mum. I still carried on a bit down my naughty road, like doing all-nighters, and you know, I went back to school and then school kicked me out. Not for being naughty, but they says I shouldn't be in school, I should be in college, doing childcare courses and stuff. So I got taken out of school and put into a college in Moseley. You know, for those 2 years of my daughter's life, I wasn't bad. It's just I could have been better. I was still immature in certain ways. But it was when I turned 15 and my daughter was 2, and she had just like got this beautiful bubbly personality, and I could see she was looking up to me as her mum. And that's when I thought, you know what, I don't want her to have the same life I had. I had such a horrible life, in the means of I've saw people get beat up, I've saw my mum get beat up, I've seen a lot of bad stuff. People who know me personally know. And I was like, that I don't want my daughter to have that. I love my mum to bits, but she never worked. She never had any like thrive or like aims in life. I never went on holiday, never went on an aeroplane. My mum never had a car, and I just really wanted, like when I used to get in a car when I was a kid, I used to think I'd won the lottery, like. And I just remember when I was 15, I remember looking at my daughter and thinking, I need to give you the life I never had. And that's when I sorted myself out. Really kicked me in the head when she started school. So I'd started being a good mom when she was 2 and I started working. I used to go to school, and then I used to, you know, go and work just to earn money to give her a better life, to give her nicer clothes, to take her on nice days out, something I never had. You know, but I really fixed my life up when I was 18, and I come out of a really bad relationship, and I just left my mom's house. I got us a lovely home, a lovely home, which I miss, and she always misses. She always says, Mom, I want to get back to Lime Green Road. And I passed my driving test. I got a great job in a company called Health Exchange for the NHS. And we went on our first holidays. She had the best birthday parties. And she is just the best thing that's ever happened to me. And if it wasn't for her and for the pregnancy, my life would not be anything like it is now. I'm 27, I have a great job, I work in a great company with great people, I'm living down south, I work in central London, I have the most beautiful daughter, and this is all because of her. 1,000,000%. If I didn't have my daughter, I know I would have gone down a bad road. I know I would have. And that's why this video is just so personal, and I just hope this gets out there to all you young girls who, you know, we all come from different backgrounds and we all come from different lives. You don't need to be in, you know, a single parent family or, you know, a benefit or council estate background to yearn love, but the best love you can ever get is just to love yourself. And don't ever rely on anyone for your happiness. Never, ever. And that's something I teach my daughter every single day. Everyone says to me, she's beautiful. And everyone says to me, oh, don't you get scared, she's going to get into boys. Do you know, you don't understand how many times people say to me when I was a kid, what happens if she has a baby at 13? And that's why this video is so emotional to me, because she's at the age right now that I give birth to her. And she's completely different to me. Completely and utterly different. She's sweet, she's kind, she does all her homework. She reads books all the time. Like, she goes through like 2 books a week. She loves spending time with me. She's just the best person in the whole entire world. And if it wasn't for her, my life wouldn't be as joyous as it is now. And I wouldn't be half the woman I am if it wasn't for her. And that's why this video is so emotional to me, because it's what made me who I am. I'm the happiest person in the world because of her. It's just the best feeling. It's the best feeling in the world. And we've had so many great memories. We've gone to Spain, to Turkey. She's lived in Egypt. She's lived in Dublin with me. We've gone to New York. We've gone to Ibiza recently. She's been Sharm el-Sheikh. She saw the pyramids. We went to the Valley of the Kings. And I've done all this for her. But doing it for her has given me the best life ever. So I am utterly, utterly blessed. I'm just looking in the mirror and my makeup doesn't look too bad in it after all those tears. And this mascara is holding out. This is going to be a recent. Actually, was it a favourites already? I don't know, but I'm loving this mascara. Let's just lighten the video up a bit. But I just want to say thank you so much to everyone in my life. Every single person who has helped me and been a great part of my daughter's life. She is so blessed. I'm blessed. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you all again soon. If you're new and you ain't subscribed, hit that button. Give a girl a support, because there are so many Storytime videos that are going to be coming your way. Thank you once again for watching. Take care and be kind, and I'll see you all again soon. Thank you.